way in ultrasound world to cite or label these buttons. There's no correct labeling system, so they're going to label it according to the manufacturer. So that's why it's different depending on what machine you're working on. Okay. Demodulation, guys, changes the form of electrical signals. Okay. We don't have any effect on demodulation. It automatically happens within the receiver. We can't change this. Okay. But it changes the form of the electrical signal. Again, just like compression, it's a two-part process that's going on. Okay. The first, like I just said, no visible effect on the image, not adjustable by us, the technologists. Okay. Two-part process, guys. Rectification, that's going to be taking all the negative signals and turning them to positive signals. Okay. So it's basically on our spectral analysis, it's basically just flipping our negative signals into positive signals now. So now we have all positive signals. Okay. But within that positive signals, my image cut off, you can see right here, we still have like gaps of where there's still variances as far as the amplitude goes within those signals. Okay. So the second part of demodulation is called smoothing or enveloping. Okay. And that's going to basically place a smooth line around those bumps like this here. So we get some kind of consistency in our signal. Okay. Again, we don't even notice a change in this. This automatically happens within the receiver. Okay. So demodulation, remember, that's the only one. That's the only receiver function that we cannot control. Okay. Demodulation. Remember those two parts. Rectification, turning all the negative signals into positive signals, and smoothing or enveloping. Okay. Taking all of those positive signals, putting a line around those positive signals, so we have an element of consistency within our signal. Okay. Trying to summarize that up for you guys. Okay. And finally, this is the only one I didn't cover the other day. We have reject, guys. Reject, exactly what it says. If you notice, whatever these terms are named, they're kind of telling you exactly what they're doing, right? So reject, allows the sonographer to control whether low-level grayscale information within the data will appear on the displayed image. So basically, it's eliminating the noise, right? That's what reject does. It's rejecting the noise. It's rejecting those low-level echoes. Okay, so we don't want those. We don't want meaningless information, right? When we talk about a signal-to-noise ratio, we want it to be high. We want high signal, low noise, right? High signal, low noise. Okay, so again, reject is rejecting those low-level grayscales. It doesn't affect our high amplitude signals coming back to the receiver, coming to the receiver. It only affects low-level signals. Okay, only affects low-level signals. That's like a key term when it comes to reject. Okay. So synonyms for that are going to be threshold and suppression. Again, threshold is actually a button on our IU-22. You can control this by threshold. Some machines are going to have suppression. So that's why it's important that you know these terms according to which kind of ultrasound system you're working on.
Isn't compression suppression too?
Sorry?
Because the meaning of compression is suppression too, right?
Somewhat. I can see what you're saying there, but don't get that confused with reject. Because this is basically, when they talk about synonyms, they're talking about more labeling type of thing, how the machine is going to be labeled. And yeah, I have seen suppression on the machines, but that's also reject. Compression is basically, I have this much, now I'm making this much. Okay. I gotta look up the exact definition of what suppression is actually. I think they're similar, but they're, of course, they're two different words, so there has to be a difference, right? So suppression actually means stoppage or reduction of the discharge. So definitely different term. Compression means having something larger and condensing it to something smaller. Okay. So these are the synonyms for compression, reject, threshold, and suppression. Right? Threshold, again, that's what it's called on our IU-22s. Okay, we have time. I'll show you guys that. I didn't bring the machine in here again because we're on the last receiver function. Okay. So the effect it has on image is that all low-level signals on the image, regardless of the location, rejection does not affect bright echoes. So it's going to eliminate all of the low-level signals, all of that kind of haze, that fuzziness. You know, guys, and I'm telling you this so you guys can start using these features, using these tools when you're working. You never see technologies adjust compression, really, right? You never really see that, right? You never really see them adjusting the threshold, the reject, right? But it's definitely, I'm all about, if you ever work with me, like you guys never had that opportunity to work with me in the clinic, you know, but I'm all about using the machines to their full capability. Like, it's not you as a technologist, your scanning abilities that make you better. It's your ability to manipulate your machine and help you get the best images possible for image optimization. Because it's really not about us. It's not about our skill. It's not about technique. I'm going to steal Dr. Black's line. It's about the patient you're serving, right? So you want to give that patient your best. In order to give them your best, you have to know how to manipulate your machine to the best it can be. Okay? So even though, you know, our main job as a sonographer, we want to find windows and find our images the best. But also, when it comes to just finding that image, I know you guys, you just first year students, so you guys are just in the phase of, let me just get this image, right? But I'm telling you how to optimize your images, how to make your images better, okay? Because that's the difference between, you know, a really good sonographer and a really great sonographer, in my opinion. In my opinion, knowing how to manipulate the machine. Just like I can tell you exactly, boom, I haven't worked in 2 years now, almost 2 years, you know, as a full-time job. And I still know this machine like the back of my hand. You know what I mean? It's about really knowing your machine and how to manipulate it. Okay? So become an expert on your machine, what you're working on. Same thing. I work at St. Louis Sugar Land. We use a GE Logic, an old GE Logic. You know, on my free time, when I don't have a patient, I'm in there sitting down, manipulating my buttons, trying to see how I can make my images better. Okay? Because you know, when you have a bad machine, you have to optimize the image. Like when you're using Toby, it's limited, right? You guys don't even use it anymore because y'all just want to use IE22s, right? So that's just what I mean about that. You know, those new machines aren't always available depending on where you go.
This reject button, when would you use it?
I'm sorry?
When would you use this reject?
Reject. So say for instance, you know, if you're doing an aorta and you can't clean it up. You know, you're doing everything you can to clean it up. You may want to use and you have that kind of, you know how I don't like having echoes in there. You have that kind of haze in there, you know, that noise, I'm calling haze noise, you know, those kind of signals you can't get rid of. You know, the reject may help you get rid of those low level signals. But you gotta be smart again when you're using it. Just like harmonics, right? Just like harmonics, you gotta be smart when you're using it because that can be useful information as well. Just because it's low level, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's noise. We know when we see sludge on the in the gallbladder. Have you guys seen sludge yet? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know how low level echoes that is, right? So when you see it, you have to make sure that is it really sludge or is it just noise? Okay. A way you can tell if something's sludge is that if you turn the patient into the decubitus position, that sludge should move up into the gallbladder fundus, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Because it's going by gravity. So if you turn the patient up into the left lateral decube or turn them away from you in your decube position, then that sludge should travel up, just like a gallstone. If it's not lodged into the neck, you should see it trickling up into the fundus. Okay, but that's the time I would use it right there. I would use it if I'm looking at blood vessels. You know, whenever I need it. You know, you never know. It just depends on the circumstance. But those are two circumstances where I would personally use the reject button or my threshold button on my IE22. Oh. Okay. Again, guys, it is adjustable by us. It is a button. The only one that's not adjustable is demodulation. Demodulation is the only one that doesn't have synonyms. Okay. Okay. So this is how it kind of works right there, guys. Without reject, very faint reflections appear on the displayed image. Our upper image is kind of fuzzy. You can see the fuzz on that image, right? You can see how it's not as clear. It kind of, you know, I don't know how to explain it. You know, it just has that haze over it, that noise contaminated. Okay, but with reject, the weak reflections are eliminated from the display on the lower image. So all of those weak reflections, again, reject is not something that's always going to be good. Again, if that's meaningful information, don't use the reject key. Okay, don't use the reject button or the reject knob. Okay. So guys, that's our receiver right there. Okay. So we over this chapter we talk about, you know, the components of the ultrasound system. It's 7 of them, right? We talked about we already talked about one in depth, which is the transducer. We just got finished covering the pulsar, the beamformer, and the receiver, which are actually all within the ultrasound system itself. Okay. Any questions on those things? Any one of our receiver functions? Anything about pulsar, beamformer? Remember, you have a test on Wednesday, so please, you know, ask me questions. Ask me questions. Okay. So, guys, this is just the table that's in the book, right? This is just the table at the end. It already, you know, you just copy that. You know, if you learn this table about the receiver, you're gonna be golden. You know, again, you know my questions are gonna be, which signal process has all signals treated identically from the receiver? You know what I mean? I'm gonna make you think. I'm gonna challenge you. You know, so there'll be some black and white questions, but all my questions, as you know, they're not so just plain black and white. Okay. So again, amplification. Again, these are all our receiver functions. You know them because they're in alphabetical order. Amplification, compensation, compression, demodulation, reject. Okay? Know those synonymous terms because I will not use these terms all the time. When I'm talking about compression, I may say dynamic range. Okay? When I'm talking about amplification, I may say receiver gain. Okay? Yes, sir.
So for the demodulations, if you don't have any adjustable and no effect on the image, so what's the main function?
The main function is to keep our signals consistent. Keep the signals consistent coming to the ultrasound system. It doesn't affect us as a sonographer, but it affects the system itself as far as having our signals come in with consistency. Okay? So that's just something that the machine does automatically. It is something the machine does automatically. And it's all about just having consistent signals throughout the whole process of acquiring images. Okay. So again, alphabetical order for our receiver functions. All right. Adjustable. All of them are adjustable except demodulation. It happens on its own. Okay. Amplification. It treats all signals identically. It's going to amplify all signals the same. All high-level signals, all low-level signals, they're going to be amplified to the same degree. Okay. Remember, the beamformer also, you know, our output power also increases and decreases the signal to the same degree. It changes the level of brightness on the image. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about treating signals identically. Okay. Know which one is which. You know, output power, that has to do with transmission, right? We're talking about receiver, or we're talking about amplification, that has to do with reception, those reflected sound waves, okay? So again, that affects patient dose. I'm gonna elaborate on that shortly. Amplification, the entire image gets brighter or darker as a whole, okay? All signals are gonna elevate and decrease depending on which way you turn your knob. All right, so compensation. That's our TGCs, guys. That's just a short word for it. Compensation, time depth compensation. Okay, that's what compensation is. It's going to treat signals differently based on the depth. Okay, again, you know this because as you look at your TGCs, every notch going down is identified by a certain level of depth on the display itself. Okay, so that's what compensation is. With compensation, the image will be uniform. It can be uniform if we manipulate it the right way. If we just have all our TGCs in one line, then it won't be uniform, right? Because we know attenuation occurs. Okay, but it can create an image of uniform brightness from top to bottom. Okay, and again, you guys use that one every day. You guys use amplification every day. Okay, so don't forget about your other receiver functions. Okay, so compression, guys, remember compression. It's a two-stage deal, right? Compression deals with, you know, it's changing the grayscale, the characteristics of the grayscale limits. Okay, two things that make compression is one is gonna be the machine itself. That's the first one. Is to keep all our signals within the range that the system can handle. Okay, and then the second one is gonna be keeping all our signals within the range of the human eye, so we're able to identify the different gray shades. Okay, so it's going to treat signals differently depending on the strength. The high signal is still going to be the high signal with compression. The low signal is still going to be the lowest signal, but we're going to compress the shades within that signal. Okay, the amount of grays. So the very black is black and the very white is white. That's going to stay the same, but our range of what's just black and white, narrow dynamic range, or black, gray, off black, medium gray, dark gray, medium gray, light gray, you know, off white, white. Okay, the wider it is going to change our range of grades. Okay, yes, ma'am.
That means when we have a little range, the picture or the image will be better or worse?
I remember I said it depends on what we're looking at. It depends on what you're trying to acquire when we're talking about compression. If I'm looking at the liver, I want a wide dynamic range. If I'm looking at a blood vessel, I want a narrow dynamic range because I really want to see the inside of that vessel. I really want to see black and white. I want to be able to see that this vessel has plaque, does it have some kind of wall disease, arteriosclerosis, or anything like that. And again, that changes the grayscale mapping. Grayscale map, gray maps is something I showed you guys the other day. It's like 1 through 5 on the IU-22. Okay, be sure to use that depending on what you're trying to see. You know, I just kind of, you know, depending on what I'm doing, like I may or may not get manipulated, but when I'm doing it vascular, I will. Okay. Demodulation, not adjustable, guys. It's not adjustable. Prepare signals to be suitable for display. This has everything to do with our information going over to our display. Because that's the next thing. Is to go from the receiver to the scan converter to the actual image on the display. All right? Okay? It doesn't have any effect on the image for us. It has to do with keeping consistent signals throughout the ultrasound system. All right? Then we have reject. Okay? That is adjustable. It only affects low-level sound waves. Low-level signals. Only affects low-level signals. It's basically rejecting low-level signals. Okay? Only the weak signals are affected. Strong signals remain unchanged. Okay? Again, the effect on the image is weak echoes. It's going to eliminate those. Okay? So that's our receiver summary right there, guys. I'm going to tell